There we go. So I'll go ahead and share this again, you guys. That way, if you're not grasping everything, I do like the recording so that you can go back, pause, replay, act like it's real time, and not feel pressured to get everything in at once. So, if we're gonna go ahead and navigate to the training, by the end of this session, my outcome, you guys, is I want you guys to know exactly how to create, send, manage, and follow up on invoices inside of TravelJoy, whether it's for airfare, hotel accommodations, insurance packages. You don't want anything to fall through the cracks, right? Because then you're losing out on money or potentially you're putting your business at risk. And so even if you're using another platform, right, like Travify, Turn, maybe you're not using anything right now, I will give you guys a link so that you guys can get 50% off your first 3 months using TravelJoy. I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat. Um, it is $30 a month, but it'll be $15 with this link. I do recommend, you know, maybe waiting until you have your first client to at least get that going, because it is a valuable resource. They do give, I think, a 14-day trial for free, but what's important is that you at least have that on standby so that you can still take advantage of the 50% off when you guys are really getting going with this all, right? So there's that link. And then who feels like they're doing too much work when it comes to navigating their travel business? Even if you just started, who's thinking about doing too much work and what it might entail? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to know, but I like to approach things with ease. And so, you know, one thing I would share with the newbies and people that are just joining is there's something called being a training junkie. Okay, and I say this, I am a little bit different with my techniques. But I say being a training junkie because I feel like sometimes when we join something new, all we want to do is attend trainings, and trainings are great, but so is implementation. And so I would advise you guys to really focus and hone in on implementing. So this is a great training. I'm not going to steer you other ways. I will give you plenty of tips, tricks, hacks, and feedback, even if you are new. But that is something just to keep in the back of your mind, implementation. And so how I would guide you, as I would guide people that are my students, is that focus on building yourself as the brand. Okay. Not learning all the back end systems right now, not learning about all these little things that you have to do when you have a client. If you don't have clients yet, please do yourself a favor and focus on building yourself as a brand, which I do on social media. Okay. And then also getting clients, but without paying. So if you're not familiar on getting leads without paying for advertisements, without going to these sites and promoting your services for free, again, I'm very different than a lot of other people. I charge fees, and today is not about charging fees for research and planning, but it's to little notate that in the back of your mind that your services aren't free, but it's all about positioning. And so again, we're not going to talk about that today, but I do encourage you. I do have a free Facebook community that you guys can join. I'll give you guys my Facebook, and if you want to join my community, it's in my bio. But I do talk about, wanting to go live and asking questions and, challenging guys on like your fee strategy because you're leaving money on the table. And so, again, a lot of people don't charge fees. And, when you're doing the mock advertisement, they say free quote. I encourage mock advertising, but I encourage you instead of free quote, I encourage you to say free consult because the verbiage is very important and staying consistent is very important. So, How are you guys tracking payments? Those that have clients, how are you guys tracking payments? What are you using? Tell me in the chat. What are we using? You're using Square. Okay, who else? Traveljoy, Square. If you guys are new, before this call today, what were your thoughts around how you would charge or manage trips? What was your thought? Roxanne, you set up Stripe. Yeah, Stripe's really good for people if you're working with them internationally. You just put it through Vax. Okay, Regina. What else? Let's hear from some of the newbies. You've been told about Square. Gotcha, Ellie. Um, before today, before you had the knowledge of that, what were your thoughts on how you would track your clients or payments? Were you thinking maybe like, okay, I don't even know where to start? Am I focused on like maybe an Excel spreadsheet, sticky notes, writing things down in the back of a piece of paper that hasn't been used? I know when I joined, I was like, I'm losing sleep at night because I can't keep all these clients in my head and track payments. And so that's when I definitely jumped into some sort of platform. Use an Excel sheet to track bookings and planning fees paid. Awesome. Google Sheets. Cool. All right. So what's next? So I've worked with dozens of agents who forgot, right? Forgot to invoice for not just travel packages, but travel insurance, any sort of upgrades, right? So if you're adding activities, um, or even full itineraries because they didn't have a system. And so here's the truth. Money loves structure. Chaos repels cash. So the more structured you are, the more organized you are, and having your systems in place, you will attract money. You will attract abundance. And so if you don't have an easy, repeatable invoicing system, you guys are losing money, period. Because subconsciously in the back of your mind, you're thinking about how am I going to keep track of everything? I can only keep track of so much. And so today, what I want to do is I actually want to start off by showing you guys how to walk through invoicing specifically on TravelJoy. The training today isn't so much about building out your TravelJoy system, it's more about the invoicing portion. And I'm going to even though I do preach on fees, I do want to be mindful of those that aren't charging fees yet. And so when I start off this TravelJoy training, I'm going to do it live, real time. But I want you guys to focus on the important parts, like how to invoice, right? So once you get there, right, you get a client in the system, how to invoice, how to create a new invoice, how to create line items with the new invoice for flights, hotels, activities, insurance, the importance of clear descriptions for transparency, um, you know, even like payments, how to track payments, how to mark them manually as paid, how to upload screenshots or receipts as needed, and track the balance. But also, who has been asked like to set up a payment schedule or told like you could do free payments, free payment plan at 0% interest. But you're like, but how do I do that? How do I do that in Vax? How do I do that with, cruises? The thing is, you don't. Eventually, they'll have something where that you can track on those platforms. But honestly, the best way to do it is to have an invoicing system like TravelJoy, where you set the payment schedule based on your conversation with the clients, right? The more control you have, the better for you because your clients are relying on you more, and then they will repeat for return business because you're doing more for them than other people have. That's the goal. You want your clients to depend on you. especially when you're charging fees. I know a lot of people are like, why are you hand holding? Well, I'm charging a hefty fee, so that's why. Um, but just keep these things in the back of your mind for the future. So, maybe a client asks to split payments, right? Maybe they haven't paid by X date. And so instead of tracking people down, you can have it all in one place where things are automated, right? The invoices are automated. The receipts, once you mark them as paid, they'll go immediately to the client. It'll automatically send things based on like the due dates that you set. And it'll record this payment status. So, that's what everything that we're going to talk about today. Who is excited? Raise your hand. Tell me in the chat. Yay. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's get down to business. Let me go ahead and pull up and share my screen. Sounds good, Regina. All right. Tell me when you guys can see my screen. Sometimes it takes a second. Perfect. All right. Awesome. So, some housekeeping items when going through this stuff. Unless I ask for you guys to engage in the chat, hold your questions, write them down. They are very important. But again, you can see how distracted I get. And so it's important for me to take breaks and stop and acknowledge that you guys are following along. I will be doing a live Q&A at the end. So my goal is to get through this stuff as quickly as possible. That way I can go over a lot of things and then I will stop and open it up for Q&As at the end and even go over as necessary. And then you guys will also have this. So this is what your invoice or your dashboard looks like on TravelJoy. Obviously, mine has a lot of groups or trips that I'm currently working on, right? But the point is to show you what the dashboard looks like, okay? And you can set your dashboard up differently. At the top, you can kind of change things. But the focus today is I want to show you where um, to create an invoice. But what I want to point out first is to create an invoice, typically it's going to want you to create a client so that you can create a trip. So I want to just walk through that really, really quickly. Once you get here, say your dashboard screen has nothing on it and you just join. All right, you get your first client. So what do you do? So you're going to go to the Create tab on the left-hand side. You're going to go ahead and click Client. All right. And then, for example, here, I'm going to go ahead and put Sandy's name on here as my client. So Sandy Russell. Sandy, what's your email? Type it in the chat. The one thing you guys need to notate is if you don't have a client email at that point in that moment yet, just put yours. Okay, because in order to create a client, you have to have an email in the system. And you don't have to have a phone number. You do have to have an email. So if you don't have it yet, still create the client, throw in yours, and then you can update it later. All right. Sandy just gave me hers. So it's russell4799@gmail.com. All right. So if you have a tag where this client maybe came from, if they're a referral, put the name of the person. But Facebook, let's say we got her on Facebook. All right. So I'm going to add Sandy in the system. So now she's in the system, but she's not going to pop up in here because I haven't created a trip, right? Creating a trip, you'll see this. This is what is considered a trip, right? And you also have the ability to name your trip. So what I'm going to do, again, left-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and click Create Trip. Now this, see where this comes in handy? I need to choose a traveler. If I don't create a client, I can't choose a traveler, right? So I'm going to go ahead and type in the name, Sandy Russell. And then you can create the name of the trip. My one thing I want to relay is this is seen by the client, but also seen by you. So name it something where you're going to remember the client and not just their name, right? So say Sandy is going to Hawaii, right? Maybe she's going with her family. So I'm going to say the Russells trip to Hawaii 2025. Or maybe we have a month, right? So she's going to Hawaii in September. Anything to keep track of the client that will jog your memory. All right. Trip details. So this is something that's important to update as you narrow down the dates of your trip and modify and finalize because what I've noticed is sometimes I've forgotten to update these and the clients are like, why does the trip say this, right? Because then your automated system that we're not covering today in Travel Joy, it'll it'll be triggered based on the starting dates. And so that's why it's important to make sure once you're all finalized with the trip that these dates are updated. So, okay, Sandy's going in September. She's going for, let's say, 6 nights, 7 days. All right. So we're gonna have her fly out on a Tuesday. And then we have 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, 4 night, 5 night, 6 nights. So she leaves on that Monday. Destination, let's say she wants to go to Maui, Hawaii, and she's going with 4 people. Okay. Say we know what her budget is, which is important. At the end of your consult, you should ask for the budget. All right. Without you guys knowing too much about my structure in detail, which my YouTube channel has, and I'll drop that later. Um, don't bring money up in the beginning. Okay. Build value, surface level, have them paint a picture of what they're looking for. And then at the end is when I do what I call boring preferences. Like, okay, let's talk about, your the flight class, right? Are you looking for economy seats? Are you looking for premium economy, first class? Tell me more about your hotel accommodations, right? Is a view important to you? Is it not important to you? How close in proximity do you want to be to XYZ, right? The city major things in the city or attractions, right? Or the beach. It's important. If people want to go to the beach, do you want to be beachfront? Do you want to be steps from the beach and not have to walk across the street or not have to even walk 5 minutes or take a taxi, right? How important is that to you? And then one of the very last questions at the end should be like, oh, and by the way, I forgot to ask, what's your budget? Don't plan the trip around the budget. Get to know the people. The more you make it about money, the less it is about them and the experience, and then it's not memorable. So, say Sandy has a budget of $8,000. All right. I'm going to go ahead and create the trip because then what this allows me to do, it allows me to create. Okay. So, there's 2 ways you could create invoices. See how the title's here? On the right side, the name of the client, the dates of the trip, and the location. Again, these can all be edited later on by simply just clicking edit trip. Sorry, I have like hair in the corner of my mouth. Editing trip, and then it'll bring you back to the details. And if there's anyone else, maybe there's friends, maybe she has a significant other or a spouse, and they want to be added, right? You can create new clients for them and then CC them on it to eliminate that traveler as the middleman. So, next step is we want to focus on creating invoices. So, the way that I do it is I click on create and then I'll click on supplier. All right, but before I want to do that, I want to point 2 things. There's invoice direct. Don't ever do this. Um, I don't have time to explain why not, but just know not to do it. Okay, it has something to do with like paying suppliers directly, and then it can bite you in the butt later. So just make sure you click supplier. Another way is if I go to my dashboard. Okay. And you can see that Sandy was just added here in inquiry stage. If I click on create on the left-hand side where I created the trip and the client, I can also create invoice. And you see how it says direct invoice? Yes, I'm taking payments myself. Or supplier? No, I'm collecting credit card details to pay my suppliers. That's why it's important. Okay. So even if you're paying yourself like for fees and stuff, you're not going to choose this option. You don't want the clients to pay you and then have it go to like your bank account to pay the supplier. That's the biggest no-no you can do. You can get in a lot of trouble and lose your license for it. So don't do that. Okay, you want to collect details so then you can go ahead and your suppliers like Vax, like RoomRes, even Square if you're collecting payments like we will today. You'll collect that info, that data to pay the supplier directly with the info. All right, so we're going to go ahead and choose that. And then we're going to click existing trip. You can make a new trip from here, create your own process. I have a process that isn't broken, so I recommend if you don't have a process yet, adopt a process that works and don't reinvent the wheel. So I'm going to click existing trip, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to click on the trip that I just created and click create. Hands up, thumbs up. Tell me in the chat if you are following along. Yes, no, yes. Okay, awesome. Great. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So remember how I talked about line items, right? And the importance of line items. So this is where I want the focus to be right now. Okay, so you can name things here, but you can also choose from templates. All right, so what I want to do really quickly is I want to just talk about the templates. This will come in handy to automate your systems and save time for later on. So what I want to do really quickly is I'm actually going to open up another tab because you see where it says templates here and it says invoice. This is where you can create templates to use for the future. So what I like to do is I like to create templates like this, okay, for the future. Because that way I can have data in my description, which is important for the clients to be really clear on what it is that I'm charging them for. So today we're going to focus on packages, but also like there's a few things that I want to address that I'm not going to throw on here for the sake of time and we have newbies, but I have travel planning rate on here, I have retainer deposit on here, I have wholesale supplier rate. I don't want you guys to get confused by that and just write them down for the future. Because you'll do other trainings and even on my YouTube, you'll do trainings. Maybe you'll join some of my trainings or challenges in the future, but this is where you'll go as you start to add line items. Okay. There's one that I don't have yet and I want to create it, which is if I'm going to do flights as a separate line item. So how am I going to create it, right? For those that don't even have line items. This is where I'll go to the right-hand corner and click Add Invoice Item. So what is the template name? It's flight only for this one. I don't recommend only selling flights. I know people say you could do that. You could charge a $25 fee. My best piece of advice is don't, unless you're packaging it with something. The only reason it would have a flight only line item, at least for me, is sometimes I'm booking multiple suppliers and I'm booking with a wholesale supplier where I'm booking flights individual from hotel accommodations, or maybe your clients are booking with points for their flights. That doesn't mean that you can't book the clients because they're using points. If they're using flight points, encourage them actually and say no problem. Go ahead and send me over the info so I can add it to your proposal, right? Or your itinerary for later. But then you would only quote out like the hotel, the insurance, the activities, right? If they're looking to book their hotel with points, then that is when I would turn them down because then you're losing out with money on the table. Okay? But for the sake of the exercise, flight only, I'm going to name the item flight only, type air. Okay? Description. So this is where I want to focus in on the description. So key points to notate with any of your line items. You want the airline name, the hotel name, you want all that info to be on here. So I'm going to start, since it's flight only, I'm going to put airline. Okay. I'm going to bold that. And then later, I'll at least have the template to type the airline in the future. The next thing is dates. All right. So I'm going to leave this open so that when I know my dates, I can include that here. The next type is fare type. So what is fare type? That's like your economy, your premium economy, business, first class, right? It's important to notate that. And then also quantity, meaning your number of travelers, right? So this would be where I'm putting 4 travelers, right? I can even break it up as 2 adults, 2 kids. This doesn't matter as much on flights because unless it's an infant that is under the age of 2, they are paying the same price as an adult. Okay. Now, if you do have a client that has an infant that is 2 and under, okay, it's important to notate that. So in this case, I would put 3 travelers, or no, 4 travelers, and I would put 3 adults and 1 infant. Now, something important to notate about the infant is not um, necessarily going, like if you say you have you're booking through like Vax or supplier, okay? It's important to reach out to Vax. You could still put like on Vax that you have an infant, but likely you're gonna have to call Vax or the supplier to let them know there's an infant so that they can pay the fees. Okay, there's fees when you're traveling internationally for the infant. That's all they have to pay. Typically, they're really cheap. They're like maybe $60, $70 around there. But there's still some sort of fee associated, and it's just the taxes. So don't forget that. We're not going to break that down today, but just important to notate. So Sandy is all adults, so or 2 kids, 2 children. So we're gonna just put 4 travelers. But again, this is the template, so I'm gonna erase that. And then also what I'm gonna do down here is I'm gonna type in PNR and then in parentheses confirmation and then hashtag number. Who knows what a PNR is? Type it in the chat. If you don't, say no. No, no. PNR stands for um I think it's passenger number um record or something. It's your record locator. So I am going to Mexico this week for a client. So if I was to go to United, and I want to just show this to you guys for examples, because some of your clients will be like, what's a PNR? Like you guys, right? So let me go ahead and sign in. Passenger name record. Thank you, Sandy. So if I look on trips, I don't know if I have my current one in here, but I'll at least have past ones to show you. Okay, I even put my clients in like the airline so that I get the updates too. But you see how it has like these numbers on the left-hand side? This is a PNR. each airline has a PNR, okay? Um, which is also a confirmation number. So it's important for your clients to know that. Um, Another thing you can do, like if you're looking to find a client's trip, maybe you're like, if they have points, right? And they're booking with points and you say, send me the info. You will type in the PNR here that they give you and their last name. So I am on Vax, and I am flying with this wedding this week. So I'm gonna I'm gonna click on my group just because I'm here, and I'm gonna show you guys where you would find it on Vax. Who's following me so far? Type yes in the chat. Especially my newbies. Are you following me so far? Yes, yes, yep, yes. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for participating. All right. So, um, this where it says airline confirmation number, this is a PNR. It's going to be at the top, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click copy on this. I have a confirmed seat, but I'm going to go here and then I'm going to type in low, which is perfect because later today I'm going to upgrade my seat, but I will pay that out of my own pocket. So see how it pulled it up? That's what your PNR is. It's going to tell me all the details of just my flight. Okay. And then now when I go to my trips, it should be in there. See how it's there? Boom, like magic. All right, so there's my confirmation number. Where would this go on my invoice once I do pay for it and get it? This is exactly where it's gonna go, right? HK 3085 is my confirmation. Now, for the sake of time, and since I have a trip, I'm going to go ahead and, well, this isn't a template, so we got to add this first, and then we'll add a line item. All right, so this is what I would have on here. And then I'm going to click, I'm going to put the unit cost as 0 because you have to put something. And then I'm going to click save. So type yes in the chat if you are following with me with adding the template so we can move on. Does it make sense how to add it? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, awesome. If not, you guys will have the replay to rewatch this later. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to Sandy. I'm going to click on this trip. And now I'm going to show you, since I don't have that invoice created, or I do, it's right here. But again, remember I can add it here too. So I like how TravelJoy like they kind of broke everything up instead of having it as like a lump sum. They used to have it like organized differently. So this is where you'll see your invoices. And then I'm going to go back and remember, I'm going to add flight only, the template that we just created. So for this one, I know she's going to Hawaii. We're going to just pretend that this is the Hawaii trip. She's with United Airlines. The dates. So I'm going to put September dates, but I'll just use my dates for April as September. And then my dates here are going to be 9 to 9. I know we said it was like 6 nights, right? But that would bring us to the 15th. And then the year 2025. I always like to put in parentheses the amount of nights. That I know is helpful for me. I also kind of change, I'm a little OCD, so I keep the airlines in bold, but I start to change everything after the bold into like not bold, so that people can see it clearly. Class type. So right now I'm economy. quantity, one traveler. Another thing I like to notate up here is I like to notate if it's a round trip or a one-way or a multi-city. So I'm also going to put if there's like a layover or not. And in this case, it is nonstop, both ways. Okay. If you have a layover, one layover. If it's like, a layover, maybe it's one on the way there, two on the way back, you're getting a little bit more in the weeds. Um, so then I would just put layovers included, right? If it's not transparent or equal to a one and one. Who's following me? Type following in the chat. Following, 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 following. Love it. All right, awesome, guys. You're doing great today. Okay, and then traveler, again, you can put adult or not. And then this is booked, right? So let's just for completion purposes, I'm going to put it here. So HCRA 3085, I believe. Perfect. And then the flight cost, right? So I don't know what it is. Like if you do it in VAX, it's going to look a little different. But you can click save if you don't know the unit cost to just get the line item in there. And then you can always click and add the price here. So let's just say it was $650. All right, that's here. Now, let's say we want to add a hotel only or any of these other options that are in there. But I'm going to do a hotel only since I did a flight only here. And the reason I'm doing this is to show you guys how to leverage certain features. So hotel name here, let's say, I know I'm going to Dreams Natura Resort and Spa, so that's what I'm going to put here for the hotel name. The dates, same amount of dates here. Now, if you guys have clients flying to Europe or somewhere that like they're losing a day, the hotel dates might differ. So if it says like 9/10 versus 9/9, it's because they're technically not the first night doesn't count because they're flying during the first night. That's not the case with this trip, but something to notate. All right. So again, room type, not economy. In this one, it's a junior suite tropical view. And quantity, this is where I would put one room. All right. And then when I'm looking for the confirmation for the hotel, I'm gonna just copy the reservation through VAX. Sometimes you'll have like Expedia Tap, right? And things like that. You can put that number here, but it might get a little bit confusing. So we're not gonna go into that right now because we have about 10 minutes and we have other things to cover. So just to show you guys where we're at right now, this is what it looks like. So I don't have the info yet here, but what I want to show you guys, if I go back to edit, let's say this trip is $1,000, all right? One thing I want to show you guys, unless a client asks you to show them all the line items, I would always just bundle it as a package first. And then let the client say, can I see the individual breakdown? Then you can do it. But see how it shows the total package instead of the line items? There. All right. So now I want to go to the payment schedule. I want to move on to that quickly. So who has experienced where a client pays a deposit and then they go ahead and want to create a payment schedule? 0% payment plans. Hi, Kelly. Thank you. So good to see you. All right, so payment schedule. Awesome. All right, so this is where you're gonna do it, okay? I think some people get confused. Don't worry about this due date right now if you're creating a payment schedule. If you have a deposit and a final payment, you can type that here, but typically people have a deposit and a schedule, so I want you to click edit. And then when we click edit, you see how there's one payment, or I can delete that. And when it stops thinking, I'll go ahead and click add multiple payments. All right, I don't think it'll let me yet with, so let's just put 0 right now. So add multiple payments. See how it says monthly or fixed? So most of the time my clients like the fixed and they'll want to make, I'll say, how many payments do you want to make? Right? Or maybe they don't know. So then if I do monthly, I could do it monthly and then say this trip is in September and it's due, let's say 60 days before. You always want to tell your client it's due at least like 3 days before it's actually due. So let's say this is due in July. Let's say it's she's flying out on the 9th. So let's just tell her it's due on the 6th. Okay. And today is April. So we have um, tomorrow would technically be the first full payment, right? So that would be April, May, June, July. So you're going to put 4. And then you can either create equal payments or you can custom them. But today, for time, we're going to do equal and we're going to create schedule. Okay? So you see how today is going to be like the first payment. And then description for this one, I will put deposit. Okay? Now, it didn't break it up for me. Why do you think that is? Well, let's try because I didn't have a total amount. So I'm going to delete these really quickly because some of you guys might get this error and be like, wait, what do I do? I'll show you what to do. All right, so monthly 4, 6 equal. Why is that happening? All right, anyways, just go to your calculator, right? Say they're putting down a $500 deposit. I'll go to Google. 650 minus 500 is what? And then I'll take 1150. Then it would technically be divided by 3, right? So this is my payment, 3833. 38333. And see how it says like there's a difference here? Just add a penny at the last one. And then that'll give you your equal payments. Okay, sometimes it's also easier um to like add a deposit of 500 here. And then after the deposit, you can create the schedule. Maybe that's what we need to do. So let's do monthly. Let's do 3. Again, don't know why, but we'll build that bridge. Maybe it's because I didn't save it yet. But the important thing to note is if you don't know what it is right away, click add payment and it should create the balance. and it's not. So I think it's because the invoice hasn't saved yet. So let's click save. All right, then I'm going to go back into it. I am going to go over today, but it's important that I'm not rushing. So let's go ahead and remove this. And now let's try. So monthly, we'll add a deposit on here first, though. There we go. So you do have to save it first. See how it broke it up for me? Another thing too is I want to, before we move on to the next part, I want you guys to notate something that I learned recently is that if you have multiple suppliers, break them down as multiple suppliers and line items. It can get very confusing with Archer at least, where if there is a chargeback, they're going to ask you for the authorization, right? CC authorization, which is on here. Also, make sure you ask your clients for an ID when you book it, especially newbies, some good practices. Um, hey, Mr. Client, I'm going to go ahead and send over this invoice. If you could do me a favor, um, when you pay the invoice, I also will need a copy of your ID of the person that's paying it. And I'll need you to take a picture of your credit card, but holding your finger over all the numbers but the last four. And the number or the name on the credit card needs to match the ID. It's important because it's Archer's process, okay? You'll save yourself a big headache. And I've been doing this 2 years and I went through this headache, but it's just Archer's process. So just make it easier on yourself and give the host agency what they want. All right, and then you can also give this a label, right? So say the monthly payment, we're paying VAX, right? Monthly payment one. The more specifics in your description, the better. Say, I'm going to add an activity. All right, I don't have just an activity here. So I'm going to just create a line item to show you guys how to do it on the screen. And let's say I'm going to put activity here. The name of the activity. Let's just say I'm going on a catamaran to Isla Mujeres. Then I'll add the dates or the day. Let's say I'm doing that on the 9th or the 10th. And I'm going to put the time frame. So let's say it's 4 hours. And then let's do quantity. And then the number of travelers. So she has 4. And I know we're going to Hawaii. This is not in Hawaii, right? But clearly I'm thinking Mexico right now. And then the confirmation, which is going to be on Viator. It's going to be called a booking reference number. It'll start with a BR and then it'll give you a dash. The number is everything after the BR. Sometimes it'll say BR number and then the itinerary number. Just copy what's after the BR. Okay? Because that's what you're going to have to put on your tracking form anyways. It's what comes after the BR. So right now I'm going to put TBD. But let's say the price is, I'm just throwing this out there, 380. Then I'm going to add a payment and it's going to put 380 right here. And then I'm going to also label this as Viator catamaran. And one other thing to notate is that when your clients are paying the invoice and say they want to pay the deposit and they want to pay for the catamaran, let them know that they need to authorize 2 times. They need to authorize for each line item. No worries, Lonnie. Great to see you. Okay, cool. So, um, everyone following me so far, we covered the line item, how to add templates, how to add line items while you're actively on the invoice, how to package your products, how to create a payment schedule. If you are following me, can you please type following in the chat so I know and we can move on? Following, 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 following. Awesome, guys. For my newbies, I want to do a check-in. Are you starting to feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that you have some of this knowledge in your back pocket, that you will be ready or one step closer to being ready when you have a client? Let me know. Yes, no, maybe so. So great question, Vanessa. Are they coming directly from their card? Are the payments coming directly from their card? Yes, so once you send this over, the credit card authorization, they will get to that process, but they will be putting in their card info. And that's basically giving you permission to then open the card info and then pay your supplier of choosing or suppliers. But we'll cover that part. Moving on. So now, what you're going to see at the bottom, and that we don't have a ton of time to cover, we have to move on to Square, but some important things to notate, right? So technically you could put this in other types. I would, for the sake of like sanity, if you're in the US, put USD. If you are someone that is in the UK, right, you could choose your form. I know we have some people from Australia, we have some people from the UK that are selling, that are part of Archer. We have people from Mexico. Um, you can choose your currency. So if you are not in the United States, just know that you can do that, right? So I could type in a pound here. That's typically what a lot of UK is. They use pounds, not euros. My client is here, which it does automatically. The confirmation page. Again, these are times that we don't have time to do this, but invoice confirmation page is what it'll link back to. Don't worry about a confirmation email, at least right now. And then where it says terms and conditions, one thing I will do for you guys is I'll go ahead and share a copy of my authorization so that you can create terms and conditions for your credit card authorization. We'll cover that at the very end. So again, if you guys can't stay on, that's okay. I'll go ahead and include that. And then send me a DM on Facebook so that I can send you a copy of the credit card authorization. All right. So here is my Facebook yet again. Send me a DM. Tell me we're in our meeting today. And if you want a copy of the credit card authorization terms, I will give those to you for free. All right. So say you want to add custom terms or, right here, say you don't have anything yet, or you want to customize the terms and conditions. This is what mine says. I hereby authorize Dauntless Travel. If you don't have a name for your company yet, don't worry about it. So you could just put your name, Nikki Lowe, to charge the credit card on this form for travel-related expenses, including flights, accommodation, transportation, tour activities, planning fees, CC processing, and supplier rates. I'm the authorized cardholder for the credit card provided, and I have the legal rights to authorize charges on this card. Prior to each transaction, Dauntless Travel or Nikki Lowe will provide a copy of the invoice detailing the specific charges. I authorize Dauntless Travel to charge the specified amount to my credit card for travel-related expenses. I understand that this authorization may be used for multiple transactions as needed by Dauntless Travel. This authorization remains valid until explicitly revoked in writing or within 7 days of the trip return date. I understand that my credit card information will be handled with the utmost confidentiality and in compliance with the applicable data protection laws. Okay? So again, we have my standardized ones. So I'm going to click that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, cool, just did that for me. But from here, I would click save, or if I'm ready to send the invoice, I'm going to click save and review email. So again, these are my email templates that are already in. This is different than what they give you. But remember where we created templates from the home page? This is where you would update the credit card terms and conditions that I gave you. And you would name it. But this is where it goes. If you want to add the template, you can add the template, give it a name. But for emails, which is what we're doing, if I click on email, let's look at authorized payment email. Okay, it'll authorize, the template name is that, but the subject action required your invoice dash CC authorization requested. So this will already be in there if you have TravelJoy. Now, what's the difference between client first name or preferred name? Preferred name is usually the full name. So do yourself a favor, and I'll edit this while in here. And I'm going to just do first name because you could see the codes at the bottom, right? And then I'm going to click save. What I want to do now is go back, and now you guys can see. Instead of it automatically updates her name to Sandy because that's her first name. And then I'll click send, right? I'm not going to do this even though it's going to Sandy's email, but that's essentially what you'll do. Okay? I'm going to save and review this back. Who understands where we're at with TravelJoy and how to create an invoice? Thumbs up, yes, no. But you can see, Vanessa, that when you send it to her, she'll be able to type in her card details. And then I will show you from another invoice where you'll be able to pull it and find it. It's okay, Ashley, there will be a replay. All right, so let's go. Well, this one isn't paid yet because this is next year. All right, so let's take this couple that's going to Greece for their honeymoon. This is how it will usually pop up when they've paid it. It'll say the authorized amount, the name on the card, the last four. It'll show your invoice, it'll show the signed authorization, and it'll show the payment info. Now, if Archer, you ever receive a chargeback, they want to see the signed authorization. which is this is what it looks like. It'll have this card description, the amount authorized, and then it'll have the CC authorization that's signed. But also, remember how I said have them make sure they send you a copy of the credit card holder's license and the last four? That will pop up in the messages here, and you might have to save it and then upload it to your files here. But this is where you can upload it. Messenger doesn't always pull it here. So say I wanted to upload the picture and the training thing today, I could do that so in the files. So it's all in one place and I have it for my records. They won't see what's in your files. Okay. All right. So could we move on to Square? Does everyone who has been here from the beginning understand everything that we've walked through? Yes. Let me get yeses from 10 of you guys. And if the answer is no, tell me no. I know some of you guys showed up late. That's okay. But tell me where you're at so I can help you. There's no shame here. So I have Vanessa, Sandy, Roxanne, Beth, Ashley, Elma, Janice, Leticia, Susan. How are we doing? Yes, thanks, Janice. Elma, how are you? Leticia, awesome. Elma, yes. Thank you, Ashley. All right, cool. Awesome. All right, so let's move on to Square. If you aren't using Square, what are you using to collect your payments? Or are you not collecting payments to pay yourself, like for planning fees and stuff? Either way, tell me something. And if you're not charging at all yet, just type in nothing. Nothing yet? It's okay. Square. Not charging at all yet. That's okay, Ashley. Haven't gotten that far. Thanks for the transparency. Use Square. Okay, cool. All right, so for those that don't have it yet, I will share with you my Square link so that you can get 50% off, or not 50% off, that's Travel Joy. You'll get 100,000, not 100,000. See, I need more coffee. $1,000 of free processing fees. What does that mean? Well, every time your client pays you for a retainer deposit, they pay you for a planning rate, they pay you for a wholesale supplier rate, any sort of fee. Same, Leticia. That would be a dream. But anytime they pay you a fee, okay, this will come in handy when you guys start charging fees for your business. But that's when you'll use Square. You will not use Square to collect client payments to pay a supplier. That's a huge no-no. So this is only to pay yourself. So make sure you guys save that link. It is free to join. Processing fees, that'll come when people make payments, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I want to do is I want to end this recording and then start a new one for Square, all right?